In the early 60s, I would travel to my job as a secretary by steam train. I loved the old trains, the smells and the hissing steam and the almost hypnotic clickety-clack as we rolled along. Every day was different. It was nice gazing out the window and watching the changing scenery. Sheep, cows, sometimes horses. The trees and fields would reflect the changing seasons. I would always arrive at the office content. That was the only word to describe it. Content and ready to face the day. All except that day. I had taken my usual place next to the window, but one man entered and took the seat facing me. Going by his clothes, I assumed he was a manual worker. The train chugged along with the wheels clickety-clack, and I was soon lost to the small world inside our compartment, and once again basked in the wonders of nature as we hurtled along through the countryside. My attention was roused by the man opposite, who was struggling to get something from his coat pocket. He pulled out a small tin, which he opened, and I could see it contained tobacco and cigarette papers. I was astounded and alarmed. I looked to check the signs, and yes, I was in a no-smoking compartment. I always make sure that I travel this way, as I find the smell of tobacco smoke particularly offensive. Now here I was with my clean air oasis about to be invaded by this oaf. The man teased out some tobacco and placed it in a cigarette paper. I looked around the compartment. No one else seemed to be taking any notice. A carriage full of men, and not one of them was going to object. My hackles were up. I could feel my blood pressure rising. Was it going to be left to me, the only woman in the carriage, to complain? "This is a no-smoking compartment," I yelled, startling myself by the volume and shrillness of my outcry. All eyes were on me. I was beginning to feel a little embarrassed. He looked up at me as he brought the cigarette to his lips. His tongue came out and moistened the edge of the paper. Then he finished rolling it. He smiled as he said,
I know, that's why I'm not smoking. This is for when I get off at the next station.
Now I knew what to be really embarrassed felt like. I had made a complete fool of myself. All the stairs now seemed to be filled with pity. I was wishing that the seat would open up so I could crawl inside and hide. In what seemed like an eternity, but it was probably less than a minute, the train was pulling into the station. Most of the passengers started to get out. The man with the cigarette rose from his seat and also started to leave. Then he stopped and turned. He looked straight at me and said,
That was very brave of you to speak up like that. Good for you.
He winked, then turned and left. After making a fool of myself that way, my day could have been completely spoiled. But his parting words had given me a strange sense of pride. I often looked for that young man, but I never did see him again.